They're not the ones listening to this podcast. No, that's the truth. Anybody that listens to this podcast, it's not required. There's no CEUs here. There's nothing, there's no requirement here. So anybody that's willing to carve out an hour of their time that they're going to listen on the way into work, during their workouts, whatever it is, that tells you that right there, those 100 or 1,000 people that end up listening to this thing, then these people are the ones that are already standing out because they're doing something that's not required. They want to learn. They want to, I don't know, there's something about either the people that are here or the scope of the conversation that they feel that they can extract from. So that tells you right there, the people that are listening to this are already differentiators. They're already separating themselves from the pack.
Chad, go ahead and test your mic. Just say, my name is Chad Weinsroth, and I'm with...
Except say your last name correctly.
Yeah,
Shoot!
Already.
Wait. Weinsroth.
Hey, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I thought I said that first time. Weinsroth.
No, sorry.
I'm an idiot. I'm going to edit that part.
Ready? 1, 2, and...
Okay.
Don't worry. Josh has said my name wrong how many times?
No,
Never.
I got it down. But Siri calls him Beanshroth.
Yeah.
Hold on. Wait. Save that. Hold on. Wait. Save that part. Okay. Josh, test your mic, please.
Yeah. Josh Diggs. Holla, holla, holla.
Okay. And Chris's mic.
Chris Gutierrez. Aloha.
Todd Olivas. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me read my little intro. And we'll just jump in. Oh. Welcome to the T.O.A. Stories. Welcome to T.O.A. Storytellers Podcast Network. Please take your seat.
That's neat.
Oh, screw it. My name is Todd Olivas. Hey, guys, on this podcast, in addition to being a court reporting agency, we bring you work comp news and interviews like today. So you can be informed about what's happening in the work comp industry and hearing amazing stories directly from the mouths of the luminaries themselves. This podcast is sponsored by Todd Olivas & Associates Court Reporting. If you have a deposition, please give us a chance. We've been in business for 190 years or so. We treat our clients like family, and we don't let family down. You can check us out at toddolivas.com. Okay, on today's show, episode 63 of the T.O.A. Storytellers podcast. I have the pleasure of sitting down with a timid and quiet group of guys with not a lot to say. So I'm hoping the best. I'm hoping for the best. First up, Chris Gutierrez, CEO of Strike with a Y, a national investigation company and alumnus of the T.O.A. Storytellers podcast, episode number 62. Check it out. Go check out that podcast to learn about Chris's amazing journey in investigation and workers' comp. Then we have a partner and director of claims at Modern Rain and a board member of HERMA, Work Comp Blitz, Work Comp Ninja, Complot Award winner, etc., etc. A rather shy fellow with not a lot going on and stuff. He just trying to catch a break. Mr. Josh Diggs. Last up is a guy who I've been trying to get on this podcast for about 20 years. Since his time as an examiner at Sedgwick, regional workers' compensation manager at Amazon, and now claims manager at ABM Industries, Mr. Chad Weinsroth.
You finally got me, right?
Gotcha. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for wasting your time with me, with a schlub like me today. Name one thing you're excited about and interested in right now through the end of the year, plus your favorite birthday memory.
Oh. Who goes first?
Did I say your name right?
I wasn't paying attention. So you're good.
That's a good one.
I don't know.
Who's that first?
That was my icebreaker. It's pretty lame icebreaker.
You know what?
How you guys doing? Screw that.
All right. So what are we excited about for the industry?
What are you excited about right now? What's interesting to you? No, in life or right now.
In life?
In this time of your life, yeah.
Oh, God.
And or the industry.
You know, so I'm going to say some personal aspect of it. I'm excited my kids are in school, right? My daughter's starting kindergarten, loving every day of it. My son's second grade, still enthusiastic about it, still having fun. It's cool seeing them grow up because I have a little Amazon device on my desk and I see all my old pictures. I'm seeing like as they grow up and I look at them now, I'm like, holy crap. You guys are old. Yeah. But no, I think like, and then just for professionally, I mean, I'm with a great group of people who are kind of the like mindset and that we're kind of just trying to change the perspective of the industry.
Really?
Yeah. Trying to, at least in my perception, it's, trying trying to move away from the old way of doing things, trying to be more efficient, more effective what we do. For those who know me, leveraging data into driving decisions. And over this last month or so, I've been on a big kick for kind of the advocacy for the injured worker. I'm actually speaking in Dana Point on the social determinants of health and how they impact workers' compensation. So that's kind of driving that force too. So it's kind of a mix of things.
Love it, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Nice.
Super
Who's
cool.
next? What are you interested in? What's on?
I guess I'll jump in.
Jump in, Josh.
I'm normally pretty shy, but yeah, I suppose I'll jump in there. So let's see. I mean, my thing is I've been on this kick for at least the last year or so, but just elevating my circle, and I've been fortunate enough to have surrounded myself with what I feel is the top talent in the industry, kind of day in and day out, and being able to have access and conversations with people at the highest level of what they do, whether it's claim directors, claims advocates, brokers, whatever it is. And I feel that just being in contact with these people, picking their brain, and being able to share my thoughts in some cases, experiences, things like that, it's just elevated my game. And without a doubt, I just seek that, and it's just that's what kind of drives me, is just being around the best. And I think it's just gonna make everybody better. And I strive for that. And I've been fortunate through a couple different platforms and reach outs and virtual coffee sessions to be able to have access to these people.
Dude, didn't you do 200 coffee sessions in a row or something? It was supposed to be 50 or 10 and turned into 250.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 100 cups of coffee in 100 days, and I'm just crazy, and ended up being 250. And now I kind of do that.
I thought that window closed. Do you still do that though?
I do it, but that was more so like a challenge in a specific set of time, like the 100 days, right?
Yeah.
Roughly 3 months. And so now I still do that. I do about 5 to 7 or so a week. But just kind of as I can fit them into my schedule and things like that. But the 100 cups of coffee in 100 days / 250 in 100 days.
Yeah.
That was like a standalone kind of project. And I did a second one, and I limited it to 100 because it's pretty time consuming. Each one ends up being at
big
least
commitment, dude.
half an hour. And then, I mean, I've been on a few that are hour and a half, 2 hours, just based on the conversation. I mean, the first one I did with Chris, and it was before the actual coffee session. It was just hey, it turned into a call. I mean, I think you and I, first time we chatted was about hour and a half, something like that. So so to do that on that consistent of a basis.
And he was you're the first one? Literally the very first one?
No, it was him and I chatted before I even had this concept of virtual coffee. It was just, hey, let's reach out, and we end up chatting. But now I make these formal efforts to meet people and do it that way.
He's an official coffee addict now.
I love it. Yeah.
To start an IB of
Yep.
coffee.
Yeah.
Yep. Bring it on.
Chris, what about you? What are you excited about? What's interesting to you right now? What's going on, dude?
Just grateful to be where I am. You know, it's a good time. Company's growing like crazy.
Really?
And
cool.
we're kind of being out there, and just grateful to be around, rock star people.
Yep.
We got kind of our group, and everybody's like just positive energy and just moving forward, no negativity at all.
Right.
And so just really grateful to have that group of people that I consider mentors and friends, and which is very crucial when it comes to growing. You got to have mentors, people that you can just pick their brain and just bounce ideas, things like that, get different perspectives. So, yeah.
Dude, I got to say thank you to you for not only doing our podcast last time, but also inciting this one to actually happen. Because this was kind of your brainchild to bring have a mastermind session up here, and So thanks for
you call those luminaries or
luminaries.
I'm sticking to that name.
Luminaries.
That's good.
We're changing the name of our
lights.
text group to
luminaries. Luminaries. Yeah. We'll probably.
I did say that.
Put a cool picture out there, everybody.
I guess for me, I'm interested. We are. We're by day, obviously, we do court reporting, we do depositions, but we've also added along the way CEUs, and we offer classes and education piece as a way to give back and to give to our clients, And so we are. What I'm excited and what I'm interested in is Dana Point event next to the Workers' Risk Conference is in 2 weeks, and we're for the second year running the education sponsor, so we're running all the CEUs and stuff, and so that's just a great way to just kind of support the industry. Excited about that. And we also got selected by a major TPA to be the in-house education piece that's going to allow us entree into all their branches to go around and give them education and also say hi and befriend some new people and maybe, spread the love. Excited about all that stuff.
That's awesome.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
And my second question was, what's your favorite birthday memory? From your whole life.
Oh,
You haven't had that many birthdays, but
no.
pick one.
Can I go last? I
'Cause-
gotta,
okay.
I gotta think about that one.
Really?
I don't
Okay,
know.
yeah, you can go last.
Favorite
Birthday memory.
birthday memory. I guess it has to be last year. You know, my
happened?
wife gifted me a Can-Am, an off-roading car, and I literally like flipped it the next day.
Are you serious?
I don't know about.
Are you okay?
I don't know about favorite, but
He never mentioned that when he told us to go out with
he
everybody.
wants to go, right?
Well, it was
Dude, now you have a
I had
story.
so I had invited this guys obviously to go out off-roading, but I never mentioned it to them because it's you don't want to scare off people.
I know, yeah. Yeah,
Too late now.
Yeah, so that was kind of fun.
Was the thing okay? Was the
Not you, but was the thing okay?
yeah.
No, I was pretty messed up, but the thing was okay. It was at the shop for the rest of the summer, so I couldn't use it for like 4 months.
after just getting it? Oh, dude.
Literally, yeah, like the day after.
Wow.
Dude, glad you're okay.
Yeah.
That's your best memory. What happened to the other birthdays? Though, whatever.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Joshy.
Well, let's see, man. I don't know. I'm not a big birthday guy.
What? You just
yeah.
had a big birthday like 2 weeks ago.
I did have a big birthday, 40. But I mean, as far as like celebration wise,
I know.
this year I did it a little different. I decided to round up, some of my good buddies, clients, friends in the industry, and we all kind of hung out at my house, had tacos and bartender, and just kind of hung out in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 5 hours, something like that. And just hung out, called it a pool party, flip flops and tank tops, and just had a good time. And nothing crazy, but it's just more than anything else. As I'm maturing, as I'm beginning, and I'd rather just kind of be around, close friends, close contacts, and just have a good time. I'm not big on. I don't collect things. I'm not a fancy dude. There's nothing, that stands out crazy hobby wise, and so I'd rather just be around good friends and just have some awesome tacos. That was my big hurrah for 40. But I don't know, nothing else that stands out.
I saw some great pics of that, dude.
He is a taco guy.
Definitely taco guy.
Yeah. They're
40,
delicious
huh?
tacos.
40, the big 40, dude. I don't even think about you of any more than like 39, though. So that's,
thank you.
Yeah. I saw some great pics. It was like a great backyard
We had
party.
fun. We had fun.
Dude, that's killer. My birthday was 2 weeks ago, or August 17th, whatever the math is, a week and a half ago. And I'm not ashamed to say it, but I'm 31, so not 51. But I don't care. 50 was the big one for me last year.
Sweet.
But 51 was kind of one of those, it's just whatever years. Like, it's not that, there's no big milestone about it. But I had a really good birthday because 1 year ago, on my birthday of last year, I challenged myself to add something new to my mix. And I'm not that sports-minded kind of guy my whole life. Not that athletic. I don't go to the gym, obviously, very much, Well, I went once, but it didn't work out, So I decided, you know what? I'm kind of intrigued by surfing. So I took a couple lessons last year, and it's been a year journey. And so on my birthday this year, I got a whole new life, basically. I got the whole new surf part of my life. So on my birthday, I was out there doing some waves, and I met a whole group of cool new dudes out there that at my age, you don't really add new friends to the mix. You kind of have your little, your pals or whatever, but at least for me, it's kind of unique to have. So they all sung me happy birthday out on the waves, just out on the water, and then
That's cool.
I swam to the buoy and stuff. It's anyway, just a great memory. So
That is cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
You better top that, Chad. Let's go.
All right. So
you got one?
yeah, so I remember. All right. So actually, it was last year. So pretty much to give backstory, I always try doing some type of activity or event or something big.
Yeah.
Mainly just kind of by myself. So I think it was 26. I did my first century ride. 30, I can't remember, but I remember it was something big. But anyway, last year I did a motorcycle camping trip up in Yosemite with a group of guys. It's through this company called Wilderness Collective, and they take you out. You hand over your cell phone, and it's just you, group of guys, motorcycling through the woods.
Wow.
So
Dude.
4 days, 3 nights, and I came back with a different mindset.
Really?
Just completely just focused, felt refreshed, felt great. And it's one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
In a very small way, when I'm out on the water, my phone is in the car, right? And it's like 2 hours that I'm away from my phone that has never happened before since phones were invented, or cell phones, you know what I mean? It's been tethered to me for decades, seemingly.
It felt weird,
So
right?
have that space.
Yeah, exactly. And they had their satellite phone in case emergency happened, but it's all right, honey, I'm gone. I'm completely disconnected. It just felt great because, my watch, my phone constantly going off and pinging. So I was like, no, nothing.
Yeah.
So
Dude.
felt good.
Super cool.
I love that.
Nice.
I love that, dude.
Well, way different than flipping,
Just a little bit.
Oh yeah, totally. And work has been you've kind of shifted things around in a major way. You want to talk about that, or whatever you can say about that? It'd be cool.
Yeah, so essentially kind of took two steps back. So when I was with Amazon, I was overseeing 4 states, had a team of managers. So now I'm just overseeing Southern California, individual contributor. But as some people in the circle know, I'm already trying to make my moves. I don't sit still long. So I'm kind of working internally to see what big impacts I can make.
Really?
So I'm hoping we'll see here in a few weeks if that will come to fruition.
Really?
Yeah.
If you had a magic wand, what would those changes kind of look like, or whatever you care to share?
No, so I mean, my aspirations is just to be a director, right? Okay. Director, risk manager, overseeing a program. So first step is be to overseeing another region, or
but all of California.
All of California.
Gotcha.
So at least that's what I want. That's what I'm trying.
Was that a big shift to go from this regional thing, the large scope at Amazon, to now being laser focused on one's geographic area?
It was, and just the volume, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, Amazon's a behemoth. It's a great place. It's just but constantly moving. And ABM, it's still. I mean, it's
a big company too.
It's a big company. Been around for 100 years, over 100 years. So but compared to how big Amazon was, it's just completely different. Just a different pace. It's still fast, but not as fast. So I think that was the big shift.
Wow.
And I've talked to Josh numerous times, and I'm constantly just wanting to go.
Right.
And it's like, oh crap. Now it's a little bit slower.
I think that is what I appreciate about when I talked about elevating your circle and the people you're around. What I've found is that the people that I gravitate to are the people that aren't necessarily motivated by, like just money or things like that.
Yeah.
There's people that are in my circle that are motivated by impact and being able to make a difference and be a differentiator and separate yourself from, everybody else with your actions, with the projects, with the big thinking, with the outside the box, approach, all of that stuff. And that's what I love, because that's where I find I'm growing the most or developing the most, or be able to help people kind of learn and take away and then have them, kind of do their own thing or run their own projects. But that's what I get the most excited about, is when people want to make a difference, right? And I can do more, give me more.
Yeah.
Or not just give me more, but hey, this is what I think I could do, or this is what I can bring to the table, right? Rather than kind of wait for someone to say, why don't you take on this project? The people that I like to be around are the people that say, this is the project that I want to do that no one else has introduced or that I've thought of, or I spoke to someone and now I found a way that I can bring something similar to my group or to our company, our firm, something like that. So that's what I enjoy, is being around people that think that way. And then what you find is that that's forcing you to think bigger. You kind of, look inside and say, well, darn, this person's really crushing it and doing this, this, and this. How can I take some of that, bring it over here? How can that translate? And just thinking that way, that mindset to me is what I enjoy being around, because the people that think that way, we can geek out on strategy sessions and literally, I'm the type of person, and I know the people that I like to be around are the same way. We can talk about something, and then I'll always have a comeback for what something could do. What could they do better? What could they do different? How they can improve on something. I'll never just say, oh, that's good. I'll say, well, do you want my take? And I'm the
how it can be better?
I'm the absolute king of unsolicited advice, recommendations, and all that crap. Funny. Because I always feel, hey, there's something, hey, look, this is how I would do it. This is how I'd always caveat it with, this is
how I would do it.
Josh Diggs' personal take.
Right.
But boom, try this or try that. Or if your goal is to get here, try it this way and approach it this way. Say these words. Do it this way. And I know I like to think that other people appreciate it. Maybe they don't, but I'm not going to stop. But but see, that mindset is what's different. And the people that are receptive to that stuff and appreciate it and say, hey, that worked, or that was great, or I appreciate the approach.
I think the magic too about you, and sort of the key, if I could be so bold to say, is I think people can smell when it's a mercenary, when it's a commerce related relationship that somebody's forging with them. You can smell that a mile away. When you're only friends because you could get something. But for you help anybody who's ever come across your path, I think, and offered them your advice, purely from a unselfish kind of way, from a place that's not selfish at all, and with no expectation of a gimme back at some point. You know what I mean? But because you do that so often, that's just the way you are. I mean, so much that you've sown out there, reaps back to you in good. So I can see it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think too, like I tell people, I want to be the one to give the value. I never want it to be a one-way street. I always want to be the one giving more value than anything I'm taking back. And if I take that approach and just, especially if someone says, hey, I want your help, or hey, I want your advice or something, then I just feel compelled to be like, hey, I'm going to give you my honest assessment. I never sugarcoat anything. I'll be like, hey, this is how I see it. And you might want to try this way. And I'll tell them, hey, I think your approach is a little wonky, or I would do it differently, then I kind of say that too, right? And I think they appreciate that. But if anybody reaches out to me for advice, then I'm gonna give it to them the way I see it.
Yeah. You brought up mentors, Chris, earlier. Who are in your life has kind of been that role?
I mean, you got two of the main ones sitting here.
Podcast?
Josh and Chad, and
totally.
there's several more people out in the industry. But I mean, Josh brings up a really good point. And even for like the people listening to this podcast, and they're probably wondering like, okay, like how can I make more money, right? Either in my job, or maybe I want to start a business, and how can I make more money? When people are so focused on making money rather than adding value, then that's when you start slacking off.
Yeah.
Because you're more focused on that quick buck. But when you're more focused on adding that value, not so much for the money is always going to come around, and it's going to come to you when people see that you're adding value, and those business opportunities are always going to come your way.
Right.
So yeah, that's one of the main things that I think I've learned from Josh is the approach on people. I kind of had that seed in me, but it's just being around him and like being around Chad and like being around other people. It's like just seeing how they've been doing it for years, and kind of just that approach. And it's kind of like, that's the best way, and if you add value to somebody and they never reach back out, oh wow, you at least you're trying to add value to something and to somebody. I mean, I just think it's like that entrepreneurial mindset, right?
Well, yeah, and when you do it without any expectation in return, if they don't respond back, then that's okay. Like that, what you know what I mean? Hey, you said what you had to say, or you shared what you thought was the value piece, and if they don't ever take it or respond or give you the kudos or whatever, that's okay, because you weren't expecting anything when you did that, right? And so when you don't have that expectation, you can just give, right? Give advice, give experience, give all that stuff, right? And it's when you have that expectation of, hey, I'm going to do this for someone, and in exchange, they're going to do this for me, or they're going to make that intro, they're going to send me that business. When you think that way, it just there's
poisons it a little bit.
Well, and you mentioned it too. They could probably pick up on it. Like, hey, he's doing it
a mile away.
I can see. I know why you're doing this. You're expecting this, and this.
And when it doesn't work out like that, when they actually don't give you their business, it kind of affects you. Yeah, on your end, you're like, oh gosh, maybe this doesn't work. Maybe I should stop doing this, right?
Yeah.
But
maybe all this pay it forward crap is a load of crap. No.
Yeah, totally. So.
That's what I've come to the conclusion.
Yeah.
No, and Chad, I've seen you like come to like all kinds of conferences, and you're kind of out there a lot. You know what I mean? And I was wondering, and this was like during your Amazon days. Like, here's a guy who's got like a super busy job, high level job. You know what I mean? And but you were still in the game, networking and showing up, adding value and contributing, and doing all that when people might think that you wouldn't have to, because you had kind of made it. So what was going on in your mind during those days?
when I first started going to conferences, it was a different type of environment for me, because being new to Amazon, going to conference, people are like, oh, he works for Amazon, I'm going to go. And like just what we were talking about, it was just like, I want to get his business.
Yeah.
And
you're like the hot chick in the room.
Right, exactly. Except not hot.
You're hot too.
But then, after a few years, up until, maybe a year, 2 years ago, I kind of changed my mindset going to the conferences, where it's like, okay, yeah, I'll meet new people, network, but I wanted to meet people to grow those connections, grow those relationships, because those relationships come business opportunities, whether, through service providers, wherever it is. Because like once I get to know someone, I know how they are, then I kind of get to know their business. We develop that relationship, that business relationship, and we can possibly work out something in the future.
Right.
And it's not this mindset where like, okay, I'm gonna go to Chad, I'm just gonna get his business, and then that's it. I want to kind of want to build something different.
Yeah.
So starting to go to conferences, I had a different mindset and started enjoying myself more. So I started going to more conferences, and then that kind of led to being able to start speaking at them.
Is that where you met Josh, by the way?
So I actually met Josh a long time ago.
At Sedgwick?
Yeah, at Sedgwick.
Oh,
So
years.
and we stayed in contact over since 20.
Right, 2015, 16, something like that on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's like before I was born.
I was going to say, but I didn't want to be mean.
But yeah, so then started speaking more at conferences and just kind of caught that buzz.
Yeah.
Like I've really been enjoying speaking, kind of being able to provide my value, what my thought process is to people. And
Like, how many panels have you been on? I mean, like, countless. And seminars and webinars.
What was the first one you did, the Work on Blitz one?
Yeah.
That was the first one?
Yep.
Was that the one?
During COVID, right? 2020-ish? That year?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
2020, 21, something like that. I think what a lot of people don't realize about putting yourself out there, I know that's Chris's big thing, is when all it takes is one time, right? And people are apprehensive about it, or there's not that many platforms anyway. There's not that many platforms to share to be a panelist, right? There's a handful of conferences, but it's usually the same recycled people over and over. They're very smart people, but there's not very much kind of difference in the perspectives. And so when you get some people or there's a new platform that opens up and they can identify some smart people to give their own take on something and maybe some different topics altogether. Once you do that, then you put yourself out there. Of course, you're going to have some visibility. You're going to have a lot of people all of a sudden say, hey, this dude or gal is new to the game. I like their take. I like their style. I want them to talk at my thing.
Right.
And then that leads to, hey, you're a good speaker. You're willing to do it. Can you come to our thing? So what I tell people is, and that I like the idea of being able to identify that new talent that hasn't had their voice amplified yet. And I like to be able to give them a platform on various different opportunities. But once they do that, what I tell them, this is going to open a ton of doors, not just speaking engagements, not just, the next conference, but it's going to be, if there's job openings, you're going to be the first one considered, because just naturally, the way that anybody that's hiring or a recruiter, the first thing they're going to do is look for who's the big presence. Yep. That's the person that's going to get the first dibs. And then of course you got to wow them and you got to bring everything else to the table too. But, anybody that's looking to kind of take it to the next level, figure out new opportunities, I always tell them that's a perfect way to start. It could be a webinar, it could be a panel discussion. And then once you get your voice out there and you find your voice, you find your niche, you find your strengths, then those opportunities are going to continue, and then that can lead to really a ton of other opportunities that you didn't initially even anticipate that can fall into your lap. And that's, I think, a huge win. And now, Chad's one of the more recognizable people at a lot of these conferences. Yes, he probably at one point had the highest profile, position at any one of these conferences. So he's going to be like the biggest target. But I think he's found a way to maneuver around that and handle it well. But also, like, the reason people continue to ask him to be a part of these things is, well, he's a smart dude and he has a lot to share and he has different takes on things. Yeah. But just his willingness to say yes to different projects, and that speaks to him at a kind of a larger level about what he's about in his mindset.
And I think the hardest part, like, going into that, was fighting the imposter syndrome, right? Because, like, I know what I'm talking about, but then you're in these conferences like, do I know what I'm talking about? Am I just spewing up random crap? You get over that hump, and anyone who's thinking about venturing into speaking engagements, whatever it is, like, people will listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
You just have to get over that mindset.
Dude, you're talking to me, and I'm the king of imposter syndrome, because I started this podcast there's no need for another podcast in the world, right? Okay, but I started this just because, and a couple of years back, and I'm like reaching out to people. That's how I met Josh originally. I didn't know Josh. I hit him up cold call on LinkedIn. Hey, dude, I got this podcast, and I have 2 or 3 guests at that time. He comes on the podcast. We become friends. Eventually, I switch all my insurance over to you, and that's how it kind of like started. Yeah. You know what I mean? And now I have a great networking relationship and friendship. So,
well, totally. to that thing on the imposter syndrome stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Here's why I also think being around an awesome circle helps that, because when you're having high level conversations, it's reiterating the fact that, look, I can hang with X and X and X and X person. Yeah. Like, I'm able to have conversations at a high level, and and I'm sharing my experiences. Some of it could be new. They're reiterating that I know what the heck I'm talking about. Right. So when you're in these circles, it solidifies the fact that, of course, I know I'm freaking good at what I'm doing, right? And then that imposter syndrome crap crap goes out the window.
Yeah.
Because you're damn sure, like, look, if I can hang with this circle over here, I can hang with any circle. You know what I mean? And that's the confidence and that's the mindset that you get when you hang out with certain people, and when you're in those circles and having high level conversations. Like, all that shit goes out the window, man. And you start to really, really trust yourself, and not just know that I can hang, but I'm a freaking rock star. You know what I mean? And then that trickles into, like, I'm a freaking rock star. I deserve to be here. And then you deserve to be here. And then, look, if I can share, my thoughts and experiences in too, then great, I'm helping out. But a lot of it is just again, I can go on and on about why the benefits of those kind of power circles, but that's one big part of it. Is any sort of doubts that you have internally, those get knocked out when you have those strong circles, because everybody there recognizes that you belong, and then that changes the game for you mentally. And when you're changing the game mentally, you can take on whatever freaking challenge you want. You've got the confidence, right? And then if you're not sure, or you say yes to something and still need to figure it out, well, then you got your circle to help, like, get through that, right? But I don't underestimate, or even I can't overestimate the importance of, like, how you need to have rock stars around you, and the confidence is a big part of that.
And I think it's a lot like it's a two-pronged approach too, that not only the internal confidence but also the external one too, where you're hanging around all these rock star people, right? And now that helps you with your own confidence. Like, okay, I can actually speak alongside with high profile people. But at the same time too, is the confidence of the viewers seeing you, right? The confidence in you, that now they see that you're next to these people that are high profile in the industry. Therefore, that the level of your credibility goes off the roof, right? And that's a very important portion when growing anything. When either you're trying to grow in your career, when you're trying to grow as a business, or whatever you're trying to do, is putting yourself out there, leveraging the power connectors in the industry, leveraging those high profile people, and kind of injecting yourself in there and being part of them. It's going to help you be more confident in what you're saying and your thoughts and your mindset. But at the same time, it's going to help the people viewing you be more confident in you, that you know what you're talking about, and that they can entrust you and to take on whatever situation they have.
I love that. When I dig in deeper to what confidence feels like for me, is like the flip side of that coin, or it's the same coin, is like a self-acceptance kind of thing. Because I don't need to be like Josh. I need to be like Todd. I need to be the best version of Todd, authentic to myself, and not try and, oh man, he's or Chad or Chris, they're like that, so I need to like be like them in at the expense of being my natural self. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when I'm most confident is when I'm also just totally accepting. It's like, hey, I'm just me, and that's good enough. And I have a seat at the table, and what I have to offer has value, and I'm grateful to be here. And then I'm also able to contribute. And so when I'm just like, but I don't need to be, I don't know, the most well-read or the smartest guy and whatever in the room. You know what I mean? I can just be me, and that's good enough. So.
Well, it's on that last comment, kind of also tying back to what Josh said, like there's a saying, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. Right. You always want someone smarter, because that's how you learn. That's how you grow.
Yeah. I'm definitely not the smartest one in this room.
And
no need to look around. We don't need to look around.
That means it's one of you guys. Who's it going to be?
No, it's
not it.
Those guys.
Okay.
And fine, Josh, stand up.
No, not at all. I love that though. I mean, you never want to be the smartest person in a room, and you always want to learn. And it literally, if you're the one always doing the sharing, then that's okay to a point, because then at that point you're being a mentor. But that can't be your always circle. Right, that could be a circle, and you could be the one sharing, but you need to get to the point where you are somehow taking lead, or taking tips, or just learning from others. Right, and so if you are in that circle and you're always the one sharing, it's okay to be in that circle, but you need to find another circle so that you can continue to develop and grow and.
Well, it's kind of, it kind of goes almost to the basics of like when you're interviewing somebody, right? Like let's say during an investigation, there's a conversation, and then there's an interrogation, right? And an interrogation, it's a one-way road where you're just asking questions and you're extracting information. And a conversation is we're both interacting and we're both grabbing information out of each other, right? Where you get the most out of is when you have a conversation, when you can just open it up and you can have that interaction back and forth. And it translates to the same thing where with like groups, with anybody, there has to be that two-way road, and it's good to share your feedback and everything, but to a point, you need that people to also contribute back to you. And I think we can all agree that one of the most critical parts in networking is it almost feels like you're expanding your knowledge indefinitely, right? Because you're tapping into that mindset or that years of experience that somebody has that maybe you haven't lived through it, but they have. And you have that at your disposition where you can just pick up the phone and just ask them, hey, you've done this for 15 years.
Yeah.
Tell me, what do I need to know so that we don't go through this, as we're growing or whatever. And that's what a lot of people miss leveraging as they're growing in anything. It doesn't have to be a business. It could be in your career too. But leveraging the people around you, picking their brain, asking the questions, so that you can kind of intake that knowledge in yourself, and then you won't have to go 50 years to learn that same information. You can learn it in a year or two because you tapped into.
You got the cheat code.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like again a cheat sheet.
But even then though, there's a certain mindset that comes with that. It's a lot easier said than done. For some people, there's a pride factor, or there's something getting in the way there that says, I don't want to call. I'm either don't know how to reach out or even ask for that. And that's a big hurdle. That's a big obstacle in the way. But once you accept that, hey, look, I can grow from these people and there's like no downside. I can ask. And if they say no, then I'll move on to the next person I feel could be a mentor or give me some guidance or something like that. And so it starts with the mindset of realizing that, hey, there's value in me being able to ask someone, because the reality is most people, and I know all of us here this could apply to, because we all have people reaching out to us. Most people will say yes if you're very straightforward and say, hey, this is what I see you as an expert, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to learn this from you. I'd like to pick your brain about this. Most people in that situation will say yes. Now, everybody's busy and it has to work within their schedule. And you as the mentee have to be very direct in what you're looking for. But if you can articulate that well, then most people will set the time aside to say, sure, I'm willing to teach you X, X, and X, or how to get onto a panel, or how to start your own business, or how to grow, or how to ask for that raise and things like that. So if you approach it the right way, have the right mindset, and don't care if people say no or don't respond, then if you can get over that mindset, the doors of opportunity are endless. But it starts with recognizing that this is valuable, and then saying, well, how do I approach it? And then just going for it. Because most people, if you can manage to get past those two steps, will say yes. And then you don't waste their time. You make the most of it, and then continue to follow up, and then figure out some sort of arrangement that they're willing to do that makes sense for everybody. And then you got to be smart about it and thank them for the time, and be smart about that part of it. And so, but just the fact that you can do all of those steps, that will separate you from 80% of other people that aren't willing to do it.
That's putting your ego at the door, right? Like, don't let your ego get in the way. Just go out and ask.
Yeah. And that's by far going to save so much time, because you can spend 6 months or a year going through a particular book trying to learn how to do something, or you can just pick up the phone and spend 5 minutes with somebody that's been doing this every single day for the last 15 years and say, look, this is a 1,000-page book, but tell me really what I need to know about this, and what do I need to avoid, and what are the things that I need to look out for, right? And just being able to have that, by far, it's, it's
I had a funny thought, dude. Well, what if there was a podcast that was just interrogation and not conversation? The T.O.A. story interrogation hour. I'm going to ask you the questions, buddy. I don't want to hear anything except leaving your ego at the door. That's probably one of the key things. I think humility can be a superpower, I think. Do you guys agree with that?
Oh yeah. 100%.
Big time.
But why is that though? Like, wouldn't you think that like clamoring and like tooting your own horn all day long would be the way to get a lot of attention?
Because no one's perfect, right? Like we all have our faults. We all make mistakes, and if you accept your humility and know, like, when you screw up, you own it. Like, oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
And let me ask this person to get this information. And I don't know it all, so let me learn more and find out what I need to know.
Yeah.
It'll get you further in life than trying to act like you know everything.
And really, in life, the real experts are the ones that are always asking those questions and learning from others, right? It doesn't matter if you have a certification. That certification is going to go out the window if you're not constantly learning from other people and looking for better ways of doing things. It's something as simple as like, hey, you know what, we've been doing this particular process this way, but I want to pick your brain to just kind of get your take on how you would do it, on your position. And then maybe you can, they'll blow you out of your mind and give you a different perspective. Like, man, I never thought about it that way. And now you can probably even incorporate that into your daily operations, and that by far, it's going to improve everything else. So yeah, it's like just putting that ego and that humility aside and just like, I don't know, it's just working as a team.
And to me, you can still be humble and toot your own horn. To me, those are two different things, right? Being humble, or the humility of acknowledging that you can learn and grow from people, to me, is, we've already established that that's important, and I'm firmly in agreement with that.
Right.
But tooting your own horn, to me, is a little bit different, because tooting your own horn could be, look, I'm cheerleading for myself. I'm reminding people of the successes that I've had, especially if it's a boss or, and someone that, if this is performance review time, like, there's times when you should be tooting your own horn and reminding people of the good things that you do. There's a strategic way to do it without sounding cocky or just, hey, like ultra pounding your chest. But I'm a big proponent of letting people know, celebrating your successes, right? Again, being strategic about it. But it's reminding people, look, I'm good at what I do, and I'm learning, and there's people that can learn from your successes too. And if you are an employee somewhere and you need your supervisor or your management team to know what you're doing, it's a tree falling in the forest. You could do an awesome job. You can settle a claim for $100,000 under settlement authority. And you get kudos for a day, you get a gift card, but then they forget about it. It's on to the next claim. And I'm a big proponent of like tracking all of your successes. I tell everybody constantly.
Chad, you're the data guy too, right? The reports and data.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah. Data tells a huge story, but sometimes there's a narrative that goes along with that has to be told and tracked and reminded. So whether it's applying for the next job, whether it's convincing someone to come work for you, you need to be able to toot your own horn. You need to say, look, you need to come work for me at Monterey because we've done this, this, and this, and this is how we've brought these people along. This is how we've doubled or tripled their income and revenue and blah, blah, blah. So you need to be able to, in some cases, to be able to toot your own horn to convince others that, this is why you need to come work for me, why you need to pay me more, why you need this, this, and this. So, a lot of people see that as a negative, but when done correctly, it can be a super effective tool to help you with your upward trajectory or like I said, help grow a business too, right? You need to convince someone why they need to come, why you need to be a client. I'm tooting my own horn. I'm telling you why I'm damn good at what I do.
Right.
Yeah.
Combine those two, right? You can provide value, toot your own horn, and accept your humility. Like, hey, I did this great thing. Here's where I screwed up down the path, but here's how I got here.
Here's what I
my
learned
success.
from it.
Yeah.
From that.
There's your industry unicorn right there.
Yeah.
Not too many people have all those traits that they can put them together and acknowledge that can all be superpowers when you put them together.
And also coming across too that while you're really good at what you do, right? There could be a possibility that maybe, yes, there might come up a situation that you have encountered in the past, but that you're really good at figuring out what to do in that situation or how to figure out how to handle it. Right. So, I
think it's good stuff because people who listen to this podcast there's probably a lot of vendors. They're in selling some service or they're attorneys or they're risk managers or they're claims desk too. It's a whole spectrum of people.
Or Chad's fan base.
All two of them.
Yeah. Well, we're constantly selling, whether you're in business or not, like almost everything that we do in life, like we're selling or we're being sold to.
Yeah.
Right. Like
talk to the person who doesn't think that, who doesn't know that, maybe doesn't realize
so even like when you're trying to be in a relationship with somebody else, right? You have to sell them the idea that you're the best person to be in that relationship with, right? Like even to get somebody to want to marry you,
right,
or want to be engaged with you, you had to go to a process to sell them the idea that you are the best individual out of everybody in this world to be with them for the rest of their life.
Right,
I mean, that's a big thing to sell, right? And so we're constantly doing that everywhere. When you're getting a job, you have to sell the idea that you're the best candidate for that position. When you're in business, you have to sell the idea that you are the best firm that's going to solve their problem. So everything, we're always selling, or somebody's trying to sell to us. So that's where I think having that mindset, that entrepreneurial mindset, whether you're a business or not, of just understanding the sales platform and knowing how to leverage that to be able to get what you want to get, it's a very powerful tool.
I've been married 15 years, so it's getting serious now. So I'm gonna have to remind my wife. You have to keep selling to me. Sell. Just kidding. I'm sell to her.
I must be like the best salesman, because like my wife for 10 years now, I'm still holding strong. So
Awesome. Good sales skills.
Yeah.
Sales meeting on Friday.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, here I think to the people that you mentioned about the sales component, I think the best form of selling is doing it without like knowingly doing it, right? Is when you're and the concept that you're constantly selling yourself, not necessarily selling, but selling yourself. Every interaction, every email, and that's the way that we talk to all of our employees, is when every interaction is a sale, whether it's a phone call, whether it's
cool.
an email.
Let me pause right there. It's cool with you because what you buy from Josh, what he's selling all day long, it is not Modern Rain. It wasn't Orion or whatever. It's a non-selfish sort of mentor kind of role that you place yourself into. You're a connector and you're a mentor and stuff. And so what you're selling is just like, hey, dude, here's some free experience. I'm just giving it out to everybody. Have some. Like, dude, who wouldn't want that, right? Because it's not coming from a selfish place again.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the key. Is you're selling yourself without actually selling, and I think that's when it's received most well, or received the best, and when it doesn't come off as selling. And so for those people that are listening, that are thinking to themselves, well, am I doing that? Am I coming off hard sell, soft sell? Ask yourself that question: is every interaction coming off as salesy? Right. And so if it is, and that's probably turning people off,
you scare off people.
And if it's more like, hey, I want to get to know you, your organization, how I can help. Well, that's different. That's different than really, I want to add value. I want to figure out like how I can make your life easier. I just had I gave a presentation just yesterday at CampComp on how to leverage your vendor relationships. And it was, look, you're not an investigator. You're not a court reporter. You're not fill in the blank. You're a rock star maker. Your job is to make your client look like a rock star at every engagement, whether it's price, whether it's value, whether it's outcomes.
That's a cool framing of it. It's totally turning the tables.
Yeah. So, and when you put it in those terms, then I know that I need to make my client look like a rock star, and then just work backwards. How do I do it? Is it whatever that means? Yeah. But if you put that mindset to work, then my job is to make you look like a rock star, and that's what I tell people. It's not. I don't need to take any shine. I don't need to take any credit. My job is to make the person that hired me, the risk manager, the HR manager, the president, the CEO, CFO, whoever it is,
look like a genius.
My job is to look like an absolute rock star for bringing us in, and that's the goal at every interaction, at every claims review, at every renewal, whatever it is to reiterate the idea that, yep, I made the right decision every single time. And if there is someone that sits above them, the risk manager, whoever it is, they get to say, I told you we made the right choice at every turn. And so if you put it in that mindset, in that framework, that every interaction, my job is to make my client look like a rock star, then I think you'll deliver, and you'll wake up thinking, and this is what I do. I wake up thinking, how am I going to provide value to these 10 people this morning or today? I wake up thinking that. And it may not come to me right then and there, but when I wake up thinking that, I'll see an article, I'll see a LinkedIn post, I'll see a claim review, I'll see a webinar, I'll see something that I can tie into that and say, boom, that's what it is right there. Shoot that over, make that
Dude,
phone
if you're
call.
waking up thinking, how can I make sure that my client's business stays in business? And not only that, but thrives, Dude, that's a great motto.
Going in the mindset of, or going at that from sincerity and not with greed or selfishness, right? Like you're coming like, hey, I want to improve this person. Here's my value. Here's what I can do to help.
So if you're at a claims desk, how does this apply to somebody on claims? Somebody sitting there right now doing,
I mean, there's a ton of value that you can add on claims from trainings, just from resources,
like in a certain sense, should they come to work thinking, how can I make my TPA the best TPA in the world right now? Make my boss look like a champ.
Well,
for
I
hiring
think,
me.
yeah, and I think it translates a lot back to the mindset and kind of having like an entrepreneurial mindset. And I say that a lot because having an entrepreneurial mindset doesn't mean that you're operating your own business. It means that you're always looking for ways to approach, people or a particular situation, handling it as if it was your own, let's say, entity. Right. So if for a lot of the people listening, let's say some of the people may be a risk manager or a claims examiner, right?
Yep.
Rather than approaching it like, hey, I'm, here and talking to you because I work for this company. It's you should almost approach a situation as if that TPA is your TPA. So how would you as that business owner deal with this particular client or claimant or provider, whatever the situation may be? That's going to translate into the communication and just the quality of service. And when you do that, you stand out from everybody else. And the people that are overseeing you,
Because most people are just trying to punch the clock and get out Monday through Friday and go home.
Yeah. But I mean, that just having that mindset and just approaching people that way as if it was your own business, that right away, I mean, stands you out from everybody else. And that's going to lead you to being top of the top.
Yeah. And sorry, I was just gonna say the people that have that clock in, clock out mentality, they're not the ones listening to this podcast. That's the truth. Yeah. Anybody that listens to this podcast, that's not required. There's no CEUs here. There's nothing.
Right.
There's no requirement here. Right. So anybody that's willing to carve out an hour of their time that they're gonna listen on the way into work, during their workouts, whatever it is, that tells you that right there. Those 100 or 1,000 people that end up listening to this thing, then these people are the ones that are already standing out because they're doing something that's not required. They want to learn. They want to, I don't know, there's something about either the people that are here or the scope of the conversation that they feel that they can extract from. Yeah. So that tells you right there, the people that are listening to this are already differentiators. They're already separating themselves from the pack. So that mindset alone is already in these people.
That's a good point.
Right?
It's got baked in.
So if you are on a claims desk or you are a risk manager, you're looking at everything. You're looking at not just my claims desk. What are my vendors doing? Who's performing and who's not? Reporting that back to the risk manager, reporting that back to the team, taking a look at the type of injuries that are coming in. And you're figuring out, okay, how can I help the account? Maybe there's these trainings that I'm seeing on the front end that are being missed. Or maybe we need to have a conversation about how to avoid litigation because something has spiked, something has changed. So it's taking what is in your lane, in your scope, in your kind of semi-tunnel vision because you're only seeing these 150, 180 claims and you're figuring out how can I make a difference? Bigger picture. And that's the mindset that'll help you when you're an examiner, when you're a risk manager, is how can I report back some projects that I'm seeing? What observations am I making? High level stuff that I can circle up, bubble up, vendors that are doing good versus doing bad so that they can figure out, do they need to reassess? Maybe I've got recommendations of my own, how we can improve processes. What data would it be helpful for me to have? Maybe code stuff differently. There's a ton of stuff, man. So just people thinking this way, that was just one little example. That was just as a claims examiner, right? And so everybody that thinks that way, there's an opportunity to add value to everything that you're doing. And what happens is when you bubble this information, when you think that way, you're already separating yourself and the higher ups are going to see this, they're going to identify this and they're going to ask you for that next role, for that team lead, the supervisor role, the claims director, the closing projects coordinator. And that's how you start to separate yourself. It starts on the desk with what you're dealing with, but that high level sort of thinking and just knowing without even asking, I'm going to start bubbling this up to the people that need to
word that
know?
you use, entrepreneurial.
Entrepreneurial, yeah. And a lot of people might also that, that are listening might say, well, I know my employer and I know that that's not really going to translate to greater or different opportunity within this company. But there's a lot of external opportunities too with the people that you're dealing with every single day, right? So let's say on the work comp, right? A claims examiner may be dealing with a particular employer, right? And who knows, maybe that may be a high profile employer that just really loves the way that your approach, the way that you're handling stuff, because, your customer service and everything, that they might even just call you and say, hey, we have a vacancy right now. Would you be interested in switching over? And that may even like triple your salary and the opportunities and everything. Yeah. So it's just approaching everybody.
Chad, what were you going to say a second ago?
No, I mean, Josh said it.
I stole his thunder. I'm sorry.
We'll rewind it and play twice.
He said a hell of a lot better. No, pretty much like what Chris was saying, like for the claims examiner perspective, like your desk is your business.
Yeah.
Right. You own it.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
And it's so true.
And tying into the advocacy approach, like by just treating it like your business, doing the customer service, treating your client, treating your injured worker with respect, getting to know them, doing the empathy, it has a long-term effect, long-term impact. And then you tie it back around, whatever you get those kudos from that injured worker, from the client, whenever you get those wins, keep track of it, bubble it up, show your supervisor, hey, this is the kudos that I got. Here's the steps that I did to get it. And then what Chris was saying, if you're not getting the headwind at your current job, start just posting stuff on LinkedIn. Like, hey guys, not providing any type of confidential information, but tell a story. Like, hey, this is what my mindset was. This is what I did, and this is the kudos that I got.
Wow.
It just spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
Bottom line is if you're not putting, if you're not out there standing with flowers, in your hand telling people that you're selling them, people won't know that you're selling them. Right. So you have to put it out there. Otherwise, people won't know that you're selling it. So if you walk into a store, if the particular product that's not on display, customers don't know that you're selling it, right? It's useless if you have it in the warehouse. You need to display it so that people know what you're selling, and now they know where they can come and look for it. It works the same way in the professional world.
In social media, I'm super bad at that because I don't really like it that much. You know what I mean? It's not really like my, I don't know, cup of tea. But I try and do it, but I tried to differentiate. It was like try a podcast or try putting on my own conferences, T.O.A. University.
Well, a great example is like that last podcast that we did.
Yeah.
Right. I remember texting you all excited. That turned into a business opportunity.
Shut up. Tell me about
for
it.
Strike.
What happened?
There was this TPA that reached out, and there's a large national account, and literally
Nice.
the way that they reached out was because the examiner that was in charge of that account, she just happened to be listening to the T.O.A. podcast.
What?
And she just really resembled with what I was saying and kind of my story and all that stuff, that she like picked up the phone, because I have it listed on LinkedIn. So she just picked up the phone and called me and said, hey, Chris, I literally just finished listening to your podcast.
Oh my gosh.
I know everything about you.
I know everything about you.
I know everything about you.
What have you heard?
Yeah. and I want to give you, I want to give you and your company a shot. And that
that's
we
amazing.
nailed it, and that translated into a big business opportunity. But it's that, that just doing things without the expectation of really making a quick buck or making money out of it, right? But none of us are getting paid to be here on a Friday, and
What? It's pro bono? I'm sending an invoice to somebody.
Did I not get the memo? That damn it!
Oh crap, dude, that's such a great story. I love that.
But, yeah,
because in my mind,
super
that's
cool.
that's like the holy grail of what this podcast could be for people.
And
Right?
and not even and then LinkedIn too. I was one of his webinars, and one of our biggest clients right now. He just happened to give me a call because the firm that he was using, employer, something happened with them. So he just remembered my name because I was on one of the work comp lists.
Wow.
I was a panelist on one of them, and he just picked up the phone and said, hey, Chris, I attended this webinar. You were a panelist in it, really resonated with what you said. We have this, and can you handle it? And we handled it. And I mean, that turned into a huge business
I love it, dude. I love it.
prospect for us. So
I love it.
It's that, just putting, I'm really huge on putting yourself out there. I think that's one of the things that just can help you propelled
Amen.
crazy.
Yeah, well, Chad was on that podcast too.
Yeah.
right? Sorry, not on that webinar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Crush 2022.
It's Crush 2022.
And then we had a part 2 of that.
What was the gist of that webinar? Crush 20.
Well, everybody.
just like
I mean,
that,
it
like-
was the idea that hey, this beginning of the year, everybody's
it was
setting their
early on.
goals. So,
Right.
what is each one of us? I think there was 6 or 7 of us on there, and what is each one of us individually doing to set those goals, to track them, to stay on top of things? And everybody had their own little kind of micro topic that we shared. And Chris's was putting yourself out there. But see that all the things that you've been talking about. The podcast directly led to opportunities. The webinars directly led to opportunities. So if anyone is looking to make something happen for them, you got to do it. You got to go out and get it yourself.
Because imagine if you called in sick that day, dude, or on my podcast. I don't wanna
Hey
do
man,
it.
you know what? I don't want to do the an hour and a half
Takes too
drive, or
long.
it's too long, and then it's just you just got to do it, and then a lot of people are probably going to be like, well, what about for somebody that just has no type of exposure out there? What's the first step to just get there, right? Well, the first step is one, actually add a LinkedIn profile picture, because a lot of people have like little logos. So people like to see a human that they're talking to, right? But other than that, just start tapping into people that are really active there, that are very well known. Start liking the post, start commenting, start picking their brain. What that's going to do, it's going to create this algorithm where it's going to put you in front of all of their connections. These people are going to constantly start seeing your name over and over again till it gets to the point.
Start liking all Todd Levis's posts.
Yeah, exactly. Share him, and so what that's going to do is it's going to create the perception that you're everywhere, and that you're everywhere with a bunch of these rock stars in the industry. And so next time that you call somebody, it's not Todd, or it's not just Chad or Josh or Chris. It is that person that is very well recognized in the industry,
hey, dude,
so the approach is,
even if you've never met him in person before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So you have to start doing that, and then start looking for opportunities, right? Like, how can I volunteer for some panel discussions? How can I be on this webinar? What knowledge do I have that I specialize in, that I can share to the industry? And just start putting yourself out there. And that in itself, it might not turn into, let's say, an opportunity within 1 week, but eventually it reciprocates, and
it's
it will.
cumulative.
It's cumulative, and it will
cumulative
come. It will come back at some point. Whether monetary or not, doesn't have to come back monetary, but it will come back to you at some point in a way.
And it's hard for a lot of people to get that in their mind, because nowadays everything is instant. Like, I want it now.
I went to that conference and I didn't get anything out of it, so I'm never going again.
It's like investing.
Yeah,
you're investing, and when you invest in something, you're not gonna get the return the next day,
right?
Yep.
Unless you invest like in drugs, but
he's not condoning that, by the way. I don't think he is.
not pushing for that. But usually, it requires you to you put an investment. You're doing the work up front. It almost feels like you're working for free, but that's that entrepreneurial mindset. That entrepreneurs are not tied to a paycheck, or they're not tied to a job. Entrepreneurs are just doing actions or certain objectives with a greater objective of an idea that they're reaching, right? So as entrepreneurs, and it doesn't mean even if you're like working for somebody, but you have that entrepreneurial mindset. When you have that entrepreneurial mindset, everything that you do in your life, whether it's personal or professional, it's always for a greater purpose of where you want to go. And so at that point, once you see that is scaling you closer and closer to that ultimate goal, you don't care whether you're making money or not during that process, because you know where that's heading to.
I stole this from a podcast. Something about somebody from Patagonia said that the cure, or action, is the cure for depression. And I'm like, wow, that's so simple, and it's like so true. Because when I'm bummed out, or it's like, dude, because I'm not getting off the couch. I'm like in a rut, or I'm something in my mind that's like making me feel negative or whatever. But like taking some action, going to a conference, or doing this conversation right now with you guys is super invigorating for me. And like, so action could be one of the cures for depression, I think.
Just call me, dude. I'll light a fire under your ass.
I need it. I totally need it.
So everybody has it in them. It's like I was just listening to a podcast this morning on my way here, and the the host was mentioning that every single person has a poor person, a middle class person, and a rich person within their personality, within them. Everybody has it. It's just a matter of their mindset and the execution part of which one of those three you're going to be. So it doesn't mean whether you're born into wealth or whether you were born in a very you were struggling. You have that in there in you, the potential to be able to get there, but it's all defined based on one, your mindset and the way that you see yourself.
I totally believe it.
Yeah,
Totally believe it.
because you'll start displaying yourself like that.
Hey, let's fast forward the tape on that theoretical person who knew nothing and then wanted to jump in the game, wanted to, and has done the LinkedIn thing. They've gone to a conference and maybe they participated in a webinar and stuff. For people who, kind of like us, who we are on that circuit, we are out there and we're doing these kind of things. The industry can feel like, oh, it's the same faces over and over, or it's the same formula. I go to all these things and it's always the same. What would be Josh, you're the futurist and like the visionary, or you guys all are, but like what could the next level look like to like break out of that kind of the conference crowd rut, to like.
So is your question, how does someone that's just now starting kind of get into it, or
No.
is it more so what's the next iteration?
What's the next iteration of what's
conferences?
going on right now? Let's just spitball for what could the worker comp industry in California look like if it was like lit on fire, even more than now. Like, because I'm guilty of it. We've done 5 of our own conferences, the T.O.A. conference, T.O.A. University, and have done our best to do, to throw our hat in the ring on that game. And it's hard, but I think that we have done a good job, but we could always improve and we could do better. Or this podcast, like what could things like this podcast, how could this podcast improve, or what could improve what we've been talking about this whole hour, take it to the next level.
I'll jump in there because you did ask 12 questions. So I'm going to answer I'm going to answer your third question.
Pick one.
Okay, I'm going to start with the conferences.
Okay.
I think it comes down to the reason why people are putting on conferences. If their goal is to make it a moneymaker, then it's going to be the same old crap, and it's going to feel the same. It's going to be the same people there. It's going to be heavy on the vendors. The ratio is not going to be where people want it. They're going to the hawking mentality where any risk managers are going to feel like they're being attacked or vulturized or whatever. That's going to be there. When the concept is not to make it a nobody get rich off of these conferences, when it's to pull people together for the right reasons and have a certain kind of people there, not be super heavy on the vendors where they're paying thousands of dollars and there's the expectation they have to be on these panels. When that is the case, that's the next iteration. When it's the reason for why they're doing it. If they're doing it for, I genuinely want to educate people and, break even. Nobody wants to lose money on these kind of events. They want to have fun. They want to, that is the next, that's where it could be better. That's where it could be different. But it's when these conferences are solely for the purpose of, we've got to make X amount of dollars out of each one of these opportunities, then it's going to feel the exact same. There could be little minute changes, but ultimately, if it's a monetary reason, then you're going to see the same stuff. It's when that isn't there and the purpose is higher, whether it's credibility, visibility, whatever it is. So that's to me the challenge. So that's why I like the idea of putting on your own events and not feel compelled to have to make a ton of money. That's the couple of events that I've had.
Yeah.
The gatherings that all of you guys have had in my backyard, and I can handpick the 50 people that I want there.
Yeah,
we can hang out and drink tacos, have a little bit of fun, and like make it a networking where there is zero sales. Nobody's running around trying to hand out business cards. It's not that. To me, that's what I enjoy doing. There is no money making. I don't need to, I don't need to have 18 vendors there to sponsor a booth and to give out their swag, like that kind of thing. When that isn't there, I think then you can have fun and the people will want to come back and they'll ask you for the next one. But if nothing changes and that's the same, then that's going to be the answer.
When the main purpose is money, then that's when things start getting sloppy.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So money, it's always going to circle around. It's like an energy. right? People see it as a paper bill, but money is an energy. And so if you're heavily focused on the money, you're always going to tailor your process or whatever you're doing to try to get the most money out of it. And then that's when things start getting sloppy, whether it's your work product.
We fixed it by focusing on mimosas. That's where I've learned the best.
Totally.
That's why I went there.
Get people drunk on mimosas, and then the money will naturally start,
Well, and then when you start attracting the newer generation in this industry, that's when more ideas start coming out. That when you're providing conferences based on value, you couple that with the newer generation, then you start getting topics that are interesting.
Right.
Like how many conferences now is like COVID?
Yeah.
Right. Let's move past that. Let's get some different ideas, and it's vetting those topics. It's vetting the newer generation who wants to speak, who wants to get their face out there, to toss their ideas out, to make that change.
Right.
Yeah. And we need to replace golf with bowling.
I'm down. No, surfing.
He's pushing
And
hard.
surfing too.
He's pushing hard for that.
I'm pushing hard.
Yeah.
We're gonna make a bowling team. It's gonna be called the Strike Team.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's genius.
Yeah.
Done.
Strike with a Y.
Striking
Done,
every
done.
hit. Yeah.
To piggyback on that point too, on just the conference, right? Is the money. That's the thing. If it's money making, you're going to see the same crap.
Yeah.
A similar iteration that won't feel much different. If money's not involved, and that's not the main purpose, and that's where you can get creative. Now, to my other point, and I'm way different on this, but if CEUs are the absolute requirement, or that's the reason that's being put on, then it could feel like I'm going here because it's checking a box, or my employer wants me here. I have to do this. Now, I get it. CEUs, and they're required, and everybody needs them. But the reason I do my webinars and I do not even have them, I don't offer them, is I don't want anybody there that's just checking the box. Again, that's a good point. Also because it's not a number component to me. I don't need to have 500 people to check these boxes for sponsors or that kind of stuff. So again, that's the money component, right? If money is what's driving it, then that could change the reason why you're doing it. If me, I only want people there that genuinely want to learn, that are interested in it. I purposely do that. It's kind of the antithesis of the way everything's done.
You're preaching the choir. No, you're hitting a nerve within me, because we've done 5 of our seminars, and they've all been like, CEU, come to get your 5 CEUs, and throw in some mimosas as well. But I don't know. I feel like it's gone stale, and so what we've been toying with the idea is just kind of doing what you've done in your backyard, but not in a backyard. Doing just like a happy hour, the T.O.A. or whatever we call it, the luminary happy hour time frame. And for the sole purpose of just networking with people and hanging out with people in this industry, and then ideas flow from there.
Well, and Todd, there's nothing wrong with the CEUs. Like those are needed, and those are required, and with things changing now, opening up, like that's a big part of it. Yeah. Where the tweak could be, maybe it doesn't need to be 5 CEUs. Maybe it's 2.5 or 3, and then the other 2 hours are spent having like career development discussions, or like roundtable discussions like we're having here. Like the idea that I wrote down that Chad said, and that's actually going to be the next webinar.
Your desk as
your desk is your business,
dude.
Is your business.
Boom! You
trademark.
That's perfect.
Dropping these little pearls.
That can easily be a roundtable discussion with with an examiner, like the folks that are here, and we can flesh those ideas out. And it's getting people to think that way and giving specific ideas. And to me, that's different, because now you're giving folks a little bit more that they're going to take away, than a claims desk. Each CEU, they might take 1 or 2 little tips, and that's for most people, that's going to be worth it. If you can go and get 2 little tips that you can take back to your account, your desk, that's worth it. But you get some high level discussions on how they can improve their career trajectory, and that's game changer. That's game changer.
Life changing.
And again, you're not getting CEUs for this stuff. This is because you want to be there and genuinely want. And the people that say, I understand, I'm not getting CEUs for this, and I still want to be there.
Dude, that's value.
That's the people I want to be around, because those are the game changers. Those are the people that
are the ones that are going to add the most value.
Those are the people that get it.
That's a good point, man.
So tapping into humility, is there ever a post-conference survey that you do?
Yes, every time.
I never filled it out, so that's why.
Every time, and people rate us, and we get some feedback.
I mean, a good question also would be like, did you come here just for the CEUs?
That's a really good question. How about you?
Some people may not answer, but
A, the CEUs, B, Chad.
Yep.
C, mimosas.
In that order.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them would say, well, I can't justify the time off from work
Right. Yeah.
unless I'm getting a CEU.
There's always a time.
But
That's it.
but if it's a hybrid, like Josh, you're talking about 2 and 3
Yep.
hours of only of CEU, and then the rest this stuff would be that's awesome.
A lot of people use that
term.
terminology, time management, but I think it's priority management.
It's true.
Right? Rather than time management.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time everywhere. It's just, are you managing your priorities
Yeah.
properly?
Yeah.
And
when it comes to the career, well, anytime you're marketing an event,
Yeah.
a course, a session, and to me, like, clearly spell out what you can stand to take away from this. I go a little bit extra and explain those in webinars that I put on. If you attend this, you can expect to learn the following.
Yeah.
And if they even make it to that and click and want to learn more, that's more than 80% of people.
Yeah.
But if they see people that have escaped the claims desk going to be discussing what it took, what they did, and you clearly line out what they can take away from it.
Yeah.
That's how you get a greater draw too. So, the title is good, and then panelists can be good too, but clearly spelling out what they can stand to learn from this, I think helps, because you're doing all the work, you're coordinating all the stuff, you're getting all the people to say yes, do a little bit extra work, and then nail that part of it. Because as a former examiner, if you see the title, it may or may not resonate.
Here are the 3
You see-
benefits of you sitting your butt in
Yeah.
that seat for that half day.
Here's why you need to.
Yeah.
Well, and then you can use that information for those examiners who may have that supervisor like, no, you can't go.
Mm-hmm.
You use that information. Well, here's what I'm going to learn. Here's what I'm going to apply it to my desk, and here's what I'm
Exactly.
hoping to accomplish.
Yeah.
Right.
and how
turn it
that's going to
around.
make us more efficient.
Did you ever have to justify your attendance at these things or your participation in all these things to your former employer?
With Amazon
With Amazon, yeah.
No. I mean, so
never
it
questioned
was a requirement actually at the very beginning. Attend conferences, like the education stuff of it, but then it just kind of
Grew from there.
grew from there. But every time I'd come back like, hey, here's the ideas that I learned. Here's what we need to try implementing. Let's try and like tweak it up a little bit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
always get that value and apply it to your employer.
There's a little bit of hustle. Again, entrepreneurial
That's the entrepreneurial
mindset
Yeah.
that
that you
takes on
have.
it. Anyone that just rolls over and says, I can't make it, my supervisor said, no, they didn't freaking work hard enough. That's the truth.
Yeah.
If they want to get a
They didn't
yes,
sell it the right way.
there you go. We talked about all these things are coming into full fruition here. There's a framework that you need to do. You can't just forward a flyer and say, I want to go to this. You're saying, supervisor, this is why I need to go to this. A lot of it's the wording, a lot of it's the way you frame it. I'm going to learn this. I'm willing, if you're allowing me to take half a day, I'm willing to circle back to the team, give my takeaways, and then maybe even do a mini training on what I learned. So it takes but see, again, that is hustle mentality. That's differentiator mindset. When you do that, you will separate yourself. And then you got to be smart about it. Once you're done, you thank them for for doing it. You share all of those things, and that's a no-brainer. Plus, if performance review time comes around and one of your goals is to grow X, X, and X, you remind them, hey, remember those growth goals that you laid out for me or that I mentioned to you that you agreed with? This is going to check that box for me, so I need to be there. You don't ask for permission. You tell them I need to go for these reasons. Let them say no and let them give you a reason. And then you push back. So a lot of it's just the framework, it's the mindset, and it's not rolling over. The people that just say no to you, they shouldn't be there anyway. That's the truth. I want rock stars at any event that I do, and I don't want I don't want the check boxers.
Yeah.
Don't need them there.
And
Good.
That's my mindset.
if you treat your desk like a business, you have that on lockdown, you won't miss any work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Full circle.
Totally. Yeah. It's
Boom. So it's just a little bit of extra work, but again,
Yeah.
the people that are willing to do that, to explain it on the front end, and then do some follow through on the back end, those are the winners. Those are the people that are going to shine. Those are the people that are going to keep doing their thing. And the people that aren't willing to do that, they just roll over and get an easy no. That's not people you want here anyway, to be honest.
Yeah.
Closing remarks, anybody? I think this has been a great hour and 15 or so. I don't want to cut it short, but I want to honor your guys' time as well. But this is some good nuggets people take away. But closing thoughts on anybody? Or
No, I mean, I think just for whoever's listening, just take everything you learned and apply it, or everything you heard here and apply it. And again, don't let the imposter syndrome freeze you in your tracks. Like, don't be afraid to throw yourself out there. And don't be afraid to sell yourself strategically.
Yeah.
humbly.
Humbly, yep.
There we
Yeah.
go. Yeah,
If
yeah.
you've made it this far in an hour and 17 minutes, and you managed to literally listen all the way through, for one, I want an email or a LinkedIn message, because I want to know who you are, because that is rock star status to me. Yeah. Whoever is listening this far, like literally, I want you to send me a message, and I want to know, because I'm going to recognize you in some kind of way, like maybe not on LinkedIn, but I'm going to thank you, because A, that already shows me you got the rock star mindset,
Yep.
and I want to. You're the kind of person that I want to talk to and that I want in my circle. And I might see something for you that you haven't seen yet. I might have an opportunity for you to talk on these platforms. I want to be around these kind of people. So, the 20% of people that will actually check it out when they see it, the 20% of those 20% that actually make it to the end, those are the rock stars. I'm telling you, we keep talking about the differentiators.
You heard it.
The cream
if
rising
you, if
to
you
the
made
top.
it this far, everybody, if you're hearing my voice right now,
Yep.
then you are a
You're
rock star.
a freaking rock star, and I want you to be in our circle. So I want a message from you.
Amen. And I want you on this podcast, whoever you are listening, you know who you are.
Yeah.
Chris, what are you going to say?
There's a lot that was covered today, but I think it all boils down again to just the mindset. Just tweak it. If you're not really getting what you want to get right now, and really assess, what's the reason behind it. Maybe you're just not. I don't want to say thinking right, but you just got to change the mindset overall. Reach out to people in the industry. Reach out to Chad, reach out to Josh, reach out to myself, to you. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to take the time to just provide some mentoring tips, some coaching, things like that, and that's really the way that you're gonna be able to grow. At least that's something that has worked for me. Very good.
I've seen it.
So
Congrats. Hey, you guys. Thank you so much for coming on the T.O.A. Storytellers podcast on this Friday morning. You guys came all the way out from your homes to talk here and to... every time I say T.O.A. Storytellers, it must be chimes.
Yeah.
And
So
so for those listening too, those are actual chimes. This isn't a button that he's pushing on his
Those are
laptop.
actual.
Those are
I'm
live.
trying to-
It's like a mini xylophone. I don't know what you call that, but those are real.
Very real.
Pretty cool.
Keep it real here.
Gives me
Chad
Christmas
Beinstraw,
vibes.
thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming out. Josh Diggs, Chris Gutierrez.
Appreciate you.
Yep.
Love you guys. Honored to be your friend
Yep,
and have
likewise.
had this conversation. We'll see you next time.
All right.
it, man.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Hey, it's Todd. I just want to let you know this T.O.A. Storytellers podcast episode is sponsored by my company, Todd Olivas and Associates. We've been supplying court reporters for depositions since 2003. If you're an attorney and need a reporter anywhere in California, we've got you covered. We're on a lot of preferred vendor panels already, but if we're not on the ones you have, usually a simple inquiry from you to your TPA or employer does the trick. Or if you work at a TPA or employer, please ask your defense attorneys to give us a try on one of your files. We've been known to treat our clients like family, and we would love a chance to work with you next. To schedule a deposition, simply call 888-566-0253 or visit www.toddolivas.com. That's www.toddolivas.com. Thank you, and hopefully we'll see you at your next deposition.